Should be recording. Yep, I see the file. Yay! Continuing Going Medieval. Keys provided by Tinsley PR. There are things to talk about. Hang on. I just realized I've been to get a drink of water. I should have waited to start recording. As I recall, we just entered fall in this game. But yeah, I've got 3 things. One, I will do a little separate, a little differently. Oh yeah, I guess I should talk about that. So I did do last week. I was. Oh yeah, that's why I actually did want to. Oh no, it is winter. Okay. But I did want to actually be looking this way because it's I got to deal with silliness here. Okay. What the hell? Why was that a thing? I mean, great for telling me. I'm thankful. But it's like, why was that a thing? Why did somebody hate all these? Why now? What happened that caused that? So last week, I did mention that I was thinking about, because the video, Grimlore? I think it's Grimlore Games is doing Titan Quest 2. And they put out a 40-minute long video where they had the developers, they had them actually, playing the game. You gotta love it. They're not. Well, sunlight. It's night, so it would be low sunlight, but it doesn't say anything about them being cold. So, yay. Anyway, they put out 40-minute long video for. Oh, I didn't realize that snow would necessarily do that. With gameplay video with commentary from a couple of the developers, and I thought, hey, why not go through and record my own reaction commentary to it. And yeah, that as I said, the original was 40 minutes long. I hit 40 minutes in my own video in about only going about 3 minutes in theirs. Which, I mean, come on, that arguably is not surprising. Knowing how I can just go on certain topics, and Titan Quest is one. Not that I could do that just generically, but I mean, the whole, I've got 300 hours in there. I am interested in the sequel. So let you start showing me stuff there, and I'm gonna start commenting, and boy, did I. But yeah, so the video ended up being over 2 hours, 2 hours, 4 minutes long. And for some of it, I actually sped up the original, just because, yeah, this is getting long. Let's try to get through this a little faster. But I think it went well. I mean, at least I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing it, and I might do more. And it also got actually a lot of views, so I may, depending on what happens in the future, if I see another developer video like that, I may spend the time to do that again. Do something like that again. Okay, again, this should not be animal husbandry. I mean, legitimately, this should be stupid. Feeding the animals should be stupid. I don't care. I'm just gonna tell him he has to do it. Okay, good. Those are selected. There. Alright, so at some point they will do that. I don't know. Now, do I have enough food to last the winter? Don't know. We'll find out. But it's also, in theory, this stuff will... here, we now have... Yeah, sunlight around 46. So the fires are actually enough to to keep this stuff going. There. Let me... Actually, there's... Why isn't there? There should be a zone here. That stockpiled here. They're all... I have no clue where this would be. Medicine, I guess? Just hit actually all that. Oh, hang on. If that's the case, we should get rid of that. And if they can hold 2, that is more than what we got there. Yeah, down there. Because I'll probably expand it out that way if I'm going to expand it out. But that should, well, it's denser, so that should work out better. Let me just, not pause. Okay, I guess I just have research down? Yeah, I just have research down. Alright, that's fine. But yeah, so I won't extend that out until later, although this can go off. Alright, I'm just trying to think, because I don't think I have more to say about the Titan. Well, no, I will say this, that the summary for my reaction, my commentary on the Titan Quest 2 development video, developer commentary video, is I can see influences, I can see lessons learned from games like Diablo and Path of Exile. I was not seeing lessons learned from Titan Quest. Like it was not feeling like a Titan Quest sequel. It was feeling more like Diablo in the Titan Quest world, which it's like, why are we doing that? I mean, it's like, why is it Titan Quest 2? That was kind of my thing. And it's like the UI reminded me more of Diablo, and also I think also Path of Exile. The health orb things instead of health bars, just I associate that with Diablo, not with Path of Exile. But that is also the case for Path of Exile. And there's other things where it's like, yeah, Titan Quest 1, just like UI design is kicking its ass. Or at least is different. And it just, I don't know why you'd change it. But yeah. So anyway, you can watch that whole video if you want to get my whole opinion there. But that's basically the summary of it is. I don't know where the lessons learned from Titan Quest are. I can see them for Diablo and Path of Exile. But well, yes, I should also add this, that, it could still be a good game, it just might not be Titan Quest 2, and I'm comfortable enough, because, I've enjoyed Titan Quest 1 enough that, because it's going to be in early access. When it is, I may buy it, I may decide to buy it, I may play it some then, in part, so that I can criticize it. And here, I will also add this, because this is more just a statement for early access games in general, not to do just with that. But some of the changes in there, I don't necessarily like some of the changes they made. But it's like, in early access, you can, and I know this isn't a great word to use, but it's kind of accurate for my meaning. You can abuse the player. So one of the things in Titan Quest 1 versus 2 that they changed is in 1 you had health potions that you could just, I literally have hundreds of these on my characters because I just keep collecting, right? That's, really nice. Now they're changing it to be, no, health potion is a piece of equipment that just has charges on it, which, it was funny in one of the press releases where they were talking about it and trying to talk about how, oh, this is so good because now you don't have to worry about running out. It's like, I have hundreds. You're giving me How many charges? Are you giving me hundreds of charges? No? Then you are not giving me more health potions. You're giving me less. Also, health potions themselves act differently in Titan Quest 2. They just boost your health regen. In Titan Quest, it actually first gives you a dump of health, a fixed amount of health, and then it also gives you enhanced regen. So it gives you both. So in an emergency situation, it helps you. These new designs where it's like, no, we're giving you health regen, you need to pop that before you're in an emergency, which I don't like that design. It's like, then what's the point? Why not just passively, increase your health regen all the time? And this isn't The Witcher where it's like, because part of the element of The Witcher is you're supposed to know what the threat is you're going into, so you prepare for it. That's not Titan Quest, so that's The Witcher series. So anyway, the point I was getting to about early access is I don't like that design. But if they had decided to start off with it being, and those are closed. I just want to make sure all the windows are closed. If they decided to start it off with it being health potions that, the original way, but then they were like, we really want to try this new way, I would be perfectly okay. And in some ways, yeah, it's kind of abusive of the player. Just be like, for 1 month, not on a separate branch, on the main branch, for 1 month of the early access, we're making it this other way. So you're forcing players to do it. That's why I was saying it's kind of abusive. You're forcing players to do it, so they will give you feedback on it. And then if they are saying, yeah, we did it, we hated it, change it back. It's like, the plan would already be to change it back. But that may be like, we hated it, don't do this again. Others might be like, yeah, it needs to be done this way. I mean, it's like, that's okay versus just it seems like a lot of early access games, they don't do that. They try to have it be just we don't have all the content yet, we don't have the features yet, so we're just going to be developing that and getting feedback as you come. So a very linear thing. I'm talking about, no, you full on fork this. Fork the player experience for a limited time. Like I said, a month, do it for a month. And then you bring it back to see what happens. There is nothing wrong with doing that in early access, in my opinion. You are free to do that. Developers, you are free to do that to somebody, to your player base, in early access. Don't do it in release. Okay? In release, there's an expectation of features and design being stable. Unless you're intending to do a major change. I mean, it's like, to use Titan Quest 2. Let's say that they end up going live. I mean live, 1.0, not just early access. That, they go live with the potions as they're shown, but then they decide, no, we're going to go back to the Titan Quest 1, and they major version 2.0 they put in there. That would be fine. But they could never do hey, we're going to do this live. We're going to make this change while you're playing it now. It's like, no, you cannot do that. I just realized this should actually be like this. But yeah, so I mean, it's I don't know. We'll just see what happens. But yeah, if I would I review it? I just realized, would I review it? I don't know, because I have so many other priorities right now that I don't know. Between work, that it's like sometimes, yeah, I don't need a video game after work would be for me to relax, not for me to do more work. And also writing the book, and then just stuff trying not to go insane. I don't know if I could do a review. I do want to. I do want to do reviews. It's just hard to find the time to do it at the moment. Hard to find the time to do it. Yeah, so it looks like I won't have to worry about food. You guys, yes, you do have food. Yeah, well, I bet you're actually not. Okay, yeah. Why are you upset? There's plenty of food. There is no deprivation of entertainment. There is no deprivation of entertainment. Look, No, we don't still have something there. I mean, it's... And everybody has leisure time. Everybody has leisure time. Do I need to increase it? Seriously, these guys are just useless. They really are. Anyway, two main things I want to talk about that I actually have in my notes, and then one that'll be at the end, having a little bit of fun. Yeah, so I did see the news. I did look at the Tom's Hardware thing where they talked to somebody at AMD. Don't remember what his position was. Where they shared that they're working on UDNA, so unifying RDNA and CDNA, the gaming compute, back into one architecture. And it has been amazing to see responses to this, because apparently there's a lot of people that have no memory or just no understanding of what's actually going on. Because people are like, oh, this is terrible. It shows that AMD knows they're failing. It's like, what are you talking about? AMD and NVIDIA both do this. It's every so many generations they unify or they split a unified architecture between gaming and compute. What's funny is they seem to always be the opposite of each other. But since Ampere, NVIDIA has been using a unified architecture. So that's the RTX 2000 series, 3000s, 4000, and 5000 that's coming up. Right? Isn't it 5000 that's coming? I don't follow this news as closely, but all those have been unified architectures. Maxwell and Pascal would definitely split, because Maxwell was completely a gaming-focused architecture. Fermi, I think, may have been unified. I'm not sure, because Fermi was very powerful in compute. Kepler was less compute-focused. That may have been when they actually split. But Maxwell, I know, was a gaming-focused architecture. That's why it was so good. That's legitimately why it was so good and so efficient, because they cut out so much compute. I mean, it was... I'm trying to remember. I probably have this wrong, but forgive me and just let me go with it. They may have had something where it's like, you can have FP16 and FP32, where you can do FP32 at half speed of FP16, so that's floating point. FP16 and FP32 are referring to doing the precision you have when doing floating point calculations, okay? FP16 means that you have 16 bits that you are using to set to record the value. 32-bit means that you have 32 bits. For FP32 means you have 32 bits for that, so it's far, far more accurate, okay? Now, you can, with FP16 systems, you can decide to have it do at half speed FP32, where you're combining stuff, okay? Fermi, I think, was designed that way, where it was like, and this is where I'm not sure, but it's like FP16 was at 1 speed, FP32 would be at half speed. I think it was at Kepler, it doesn't necessarily have to be that 1 to 2. It can actually fall down further, where it would be like 1 to 4. I think Maxwell, it was like 1 to 16, or something like that, where the difference between some of the speeds for certain positions were that radically different. But that was fine, because it was like FP16 is all any video game needs. FP32 was really just for compute. So the average gamer had no impact at all. They were fine with that. But that's something that simplifies the Maxwell design. Now, this is not necessarily an accurate... This is what I've described here is not necessarily true. Okay? Well, I mean, it is true in the sense that this is the concept. It is not true in the sense that I know that that's what one of the differences was. It was something like that. I do want to say that Maxwell did have, like, for one of those things where going like FP16 to 32, where was a huge reduction in speed going to the more precise calculation. Okay. So anyway. AMD, GCN was heavily compute, and that goes back to the HC70 7000 series, specifically the 7950 and 7970 were both GCN. Those were the original GCN GPUs. And it's also funny because people are like, oh, it's terrible that we're doing that because, you know, they're giving up in gaming. GCN was so... It's like GCN was a truly amazing architecture. People just don't want to remember that because they don't want to remember that AMD actually kicked NVIDIA's ass for a while. They did. But other things, NVIDIA has such mind share, it's ridiculous. But when... So this actually was at the time of Kepler, because the new Titans, that, as I recall, NVIDIA used to have a Titan line. They brought it back in the Kepler series. So the GTX Titan was a Kepler series GPU. It was $1,000. And I think it was the R9 200 series that AMD had. And it was like the top end there of the R9, I think that would have been the 290X? I think that's what it was called. It might have been 270X. And I just don't remember which the top line was. But it was $500. And it matched the Titan in performance. It was half the price, but provided you that much performance, right? I'm just trying to figure out why she's going so slow. They need to need this. Is there anything to explain? Small movement in payment. Why? Do we just not have an explanation? Guess not. Now, what was happening at the time that hurt AMD was that was also a time of Bitcoin mining. In fact, it was a Bitcoin mining craze. There was later an Ethereum mining craze, and that hit NVIDIA. That hit NVIDIA very badly. But AMD's response was to just try to mass produce the GPUs to try to satisfy all the customers, Bitcoin miners and gamers. The problem is, Bitcoin miners had a profit to buying them, so normal gamers weren't able to get all the stuff that they wanted, hurting AMD. Also, when Bitcoin reduced in value, you guys are wearing winter clothes, right? Yeah, you're all set to that. So, yeah. Anyway, when Bitcoin dropped in value, these miners, they would then start selling their used products. The thing is, even if they undid like the firmware flashing and such, that tailored it specifically for gaming, it's still, you had hardware that was running 24/7 at load. So fans would fail. It could also be some electrical damage, depending on how they treated the electronics, what the firmware did to it. There could be all sorts of things that would actually break it. So I just wanted to check on time. So suddenly you had the used market flooded with, in some cases, damaged products or heavily worn products. And what happened? People blamed AMD. People would buy used but blame AMD. So, and AMD really got hurt because they ended up with such a supply. Because Bitcoin, it crashed, and it's like, well, they didn't immediately stop production. So they end up with a huge supply they had to write off as a loss. And it was huge. It hurt AMD so badly. That's what they had to do. Now, when the Ethereum crash happened, so many years later, Ethereum grew big. AMD was cautious then. They did not overproduce. NVIDIA did. And NVIDIA, I'm not actually sure where that lawsuit ever went, but they actually had shareholders sue them, because what NVIDIA did is they had to write off a bunch of GTX 1060s, I think it was specifically. But they kept like deferring the writing off until a later quarter, so it wouldn't show up on their shares. At least that's my understanding. So technically this is all alleged. But I do remember seeing a report that a bunch of shareholders were actually trying to sue them over that, because it was manipulation. Because you're only supposed to do that like once, and NVIDIA kept doing that. So they kept deferring when, yes, we had to write off millions of dollars worth of hardware that will not sell. That hurt them. It's like, that's something that would hurt stock value. And people were suing because, like, you're artificially inflating this. It's like, when stuff like this come out, NVIDIA's shares would fall, and it was a problem. So, and it was technically fraudulent. It is technically fraudulent to do that. But I don't know if anything happened with that lawsuit, and it's also, NVIDIA has such mind share. I mean, it's like this stuff Apple's done that's illegal. They're not going to be prosecuted even by the government, but for that stuff. Part because some of it, the government would have to admit that, yeah, they shouldn't have done that. Like, I don't remember the specific name of it, but there's a multi-touch patent that Apple has. It's actually really funny. Initially, when they filed for it, the USPTO said, no, you can't have this. There's pre-existing... I think it was actually pre-existing patent, but it's still, there's pre-existing technology that you could have just looked at and learned it from there, and that's why you did it. Wasn't novel for you. And the funny thing is that when this news came out, people were talking about how, yeah, a company like Apple, and there are many companies like this, Intel, AMD likely, NVIDIA, IBM, if they file for a patent, the patent office, especially because for a long time it was understaffed and underfunded, they would basically just greenlight it. Be like, yeah, provisionally you have the patent, we'll look at it more later. And then they would just be like, yeah, it's whatever, you got the patent. This was one where the person actually was doing the research and found that, no, you technically shouldn't get this. Like, University of Wisconsin had done a lot of multi-touch work prior to Apple. They did have patents. And it's like, yeah, no, that's kind of already been done by these people, so you can't have... That's basically what they were saying initially when they were saying provisionally you don't have it, but they did end up getting it anyway. But it's like, in theory... Well, no, as I was saying, provisionally, they will do that for companies. So, and technically that is illegal. Like, they're not, you're actually supposed to, there are standards for what should get you a patent, and doesn't necessarily happen. So, just because you're a big, successful company, it's like, there are winners and losers picked instead of winners and losers earned, I guess is a way to put it. And it sucks, but it's the way it is, so you just gotta do what you can. Anyway, coming back to the actual thing. Sorry, I can rant, I can ramble. For what it's worth, that Titan Quest 2 video, I'm a lot more focused on. But yeah, as I was saying, AMD and NVIDIA both have bounced back and forth. So it's also like you will see, because I think we can reasonably expect NVIDIA's going to split their architecture in the near future. When they do that, you will immediately see hardware tech press focus on, oh, isn't it amazing how energy efficient NVIDIA GPUs are? It's like, because that is an issue right now, where you are seeing some of these GPUs take huge amounts of power. I mean, it's like the whole 12-volt high power thing that happened. Well, once NVIDIA decides to make a gaming-focused graphics card again, it means that there's a lot of hardware that doesn't need to be there anymore. Or hardware that can be run much slower, which in both cases will significantly improve the power efficiency. So you'll see that will be a headline. Also how it will be so much cooler, and also you'll be seeing people going, oh, thank you, we're back to just 2-slot or 2.5-slot designs instead of these massive 3 and 4-slot designs. It's like, this is just how it naturally cycles for both companies. So, which does technically also mean that we may see AMD, when they get to UDNA, becoming more power hungry, just like GCN was, especially later on when you get into Vega, being more power hungry compared to NVIDIA. Well, NVIDIA's split, because I mean, it's like Pascal, think about it, was much more power efficient than Vega. Even when you could get them to have equal performance. Well, Vega was a unified architecture. Pascal wasn't. Pascal was gaming focused. So it's, yeah, you'll see it swing. We don't know when, but hang on, I think I have it in my notes here. Okay. In the article, it was from Tom's Hardware, and this was like in a quote, but I'm not sure how much of this is we can quote as in this is exactly what the person meant versus just giving an example. Talked about how they think 3 generations ahead, that's normal, NVIDIA would be doing the same, AMD does that with CPUs as well, Intel would be doing that. Yeah, thinking 3 generations ahead. So they've got RDNA 5, 6, and 7 also being thought about. So he mentions that. There's a quote where he mentions RDNA 5, 6, and 7. He also mentions UDNA 6 and 7. So my guess, if we are to interpret these as accurate statements, not just trying to give an example, not just trying to explain concepts, that might mean, because next is RDNA 4, RDNA 5 may still be completely gaming focused. It might not be until RDNA 6. So in the 3rd generation from now, because we're on RDNA 3. That might be when UDNA could be coming out, when we would start seeing it replace certain things, which could be, well, depending on how it works, it could be at the top end. Like I said, GCM was introduced with the HC 7950 and 7970. Those were the two top products for the 7000 series, for the HC 7000 series. So we might see something like that. Don't know. We will have to see, but that might be what we're looking at here. But it was also, and I do have the note here, when asked more specifically when the unification may happen, he didn't really give an answer. Which is why, what I was just saying, where he was quoting about RDNA 567, then UDNA 67, that might be just him, as I said, trying to give an answer there's a concept, the conceptual answer there, as far as how far forward they try to think, they try to plan, and not anything specific. We shall see. Oh yeah, and one thing that I found it interesting, it was the Tom's Hardware write-up, though, I want to say, not actually directly from the interview. It was talking about this being in response to CUDA, to trying to challenge NVIDIA's CUDA. And I find that odd, because it's like, CUDA's software, not hardware. I mean, yes, they call them CUDA cores, but it's just the compute complex, essentially, on NVIDIA GPUs. And it's been that way for a long time, including when NVIDIA had a split architecture. So I really don't know why you're talking about, hey, we're going to unify the architecture to combat CUDA. It's like, you can use a single software system across multiple architecture designs, architecture focuses. NVIDIA's been doing that for years. So I found that very odd. I mean, it's true. CUDA is part of the reason why NVIDIA is dominant, because they basically got lock-in, and they do pay for it as well. Because they will give grants and such to universities to teach students CUDA, including providing hardware as well. So I mean, they want people to use it. They know it's a buy-in and a lock-in, because you can't take CUDA code and start running on OpenCL, for example, or a Vulkan compute. It doesn't translate like that. And it's just, that's the way that is. Making new hardware isn't necessarily going to help with that, except for the fact that AMD really does need to fix things here, because they've got way too many different things that are meant to compete with CUDA. Like, you've got ROCm, you've got HIP, and I know you've got others. Like, that's two, and there's more. And these are designed to compete with CUDA at like different levels. HIP is meant more high performance. That might be more data center. ROCm is data center, but also consumer. But it's a mess with their gaming GPUs. Like, I got the RX 7700S in the laptop here. For me to use ROCm on that, I would potentially need to go through so many hoops. That's almost ridiculous. And that is a very legitimate criticism of AMD. It's been a legitimate criticism for quite a while. This would help, because now if it's a single architecture, that also means it's single set of APIs and such, or ABIs, maybe. Is that the right term? Anyway, to access and take advantage of that hardware. Yeah, but it is also, they were mentioning that part of the reason why they want to do the unification is when you split, it's so you can start doing special optimizations. So, for example, gaming, I mentioned earlier, like FP16, right? FP16 can be enough for gaming. You don't need FP32. You also don't need FP8, or int8, or int4. The int ones, those are used for machine learning. So like int4, very low precision. The thing is, it can be freaking fast, and a lot of machine learning doesn't need precision. In fact, it wouldn't even help it. I'm that may sound weird, but that is actually true. There are ways that it doesn't care. It doesn't care, and it wouldn't want to have high precision. Because some of the AI stuff, it is actually trying to make it more and more general, make it more and more lossy. Because, like some image recognition, this is in fact how it works. It tries to have a less and less accurate copy of the image so that it's like, well, that's a dog. I know that's a dog when it's a high quality copy, but when we reduce the fidelity, lower and lower fidelity, and look at it, okay, how do I know this is still a dog? It does stuff like that. So going to integer is fine. And also very, very fast. Well, none of that matters for a gaming GPU. So you don't optimize for that, but you do with the compute focused stuff. And it's just, okay, now you've got these optimizations that are on this side that we don't have here, and it's like, maybe it would be helpful. Like, if they had faster integer stuff, then maybe they could do an AI, something like a FSR 4 that is in fact AI accelerated because it's using that capability. Well, it's not really there. Wouldn't have that, but maybe UDNA would allow that. It does also remind me of one thing that's like, oh my god, I hate DLSS because of the way it has infected people's minds. Just the whole people talking about how, oh, well, you have to have AI. It's impossible to do this stuff without AI. It's like, FSR does a very good job of what DLSS does. Okay, and it's not AI. In fact, don't forget, there was a DLSS 1.6, was it? Something like that actually ran on the GTX 16 series, which didn't have tensor cores. And also, tensor cores are only used for certain kinds of AI, not others. So, I mean, people are just completely believing NVIDIA's claims that this can only be done this way. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I believe that the only reason DLSS exists is basically because of this topic. Because NVIDIA decided to unify their architecture. The Volta architecture was a compute-focused architecture, and that came out after Pascal. There was no gaming equivalent for it. The next one was Ampere, and it's a Volta derivative, not a Pascal derivative. It's a Volta derivative. Volta had tensor cores. Well, it's a unified architecture. They want to be able to sell Ampere to, and I'm pretty sure it's Ampere. No, wait, no. It's Turing. I'm sorry, Turing was 3000. Sorry, Ampere was 3000. Turing was 2000. I'm sorry, I forgot. That's right, Turing. Volta, Turing, Ampere. And what are we at? Ada Lovelace now? Sorry. Turing. Turing was the unified architecture. I'm such an idiot. That's embarrassing. Anyhow. So Turing kept the tensor cores of Volta because it's derived from Volta, and it's a unified architecture that's going with. And I think, and I do believe that this, because I think it's completely reasonable, that people on video were like, we have this hardware that has zero use for gaming. There's no reason for it to be here. We need to justify it. Well, what can we do? Well, AI can be used for image enhancement. Okay. As in, like a sharpening filter? Well, no, we could, have it do upscaling. And then DLSS was born as a way to leverage that hardware, to justify that hardware existing in a gaming GPU. So, yeah, and then with AMD going to split, it's like, well, why should we include this hardware that takes up so much more silicon, forcing the chips to be more expensive to manufacture and sell, and is only really used for a single thing, especially when, we can do it other ways, and they did. AMD has done other ways, and ways that any GPU can do. But NVIDIA mindshare, that they can just convince people that this is no, this is how it should be done. This is how that should work. And it's like, it doesn't need to work that way. So I would not be surprised if they split and go to a gaming and compute architecture again, split architecture. I would not be surprised if you see the tensor cores shrink on NVIDIA. I wouldn't. For the gaming. Because it's like, well, why? We only use for DLSS. And I remember seeing something wild, and I found it wild how people were spinning it. Oh, good. That's really what I want. And the other stuff do I care too much about? I'm just like, there's no value to any of that since I'm in peaceful. Okay, they are working on it. Wait, what? Okay, now I'm confused. Oh, okay, these are what I want. Anyway, I can actually do this. Oh, well, I don't need to because it's past the amount, so. Yeah, I would not be surprised if they shrunk them because it wouldn't be a need for them to be so large. Yeah, that's right. I saw something where somebody managed to actually see how much time the tensor cores are active when using DLSS, and it was this very short period of time. People like, see, that shows just how impactful and powerful DLSS is. It's like, it's a fraction of the total rendering time. It's like for some, I mean, you're barely using it. I mean, it's like, if it were going longer, it would make more sense. You know, just like a brief 99% usage and then done doesn't tell me it's that necessary. That tells me that that the work is done very, very quickly, and that's it. So if you split the architecture, you might be like, okay, let's do a smaller tensor core there that, yeah, it instead of being done in 1 millisecond, it takes 2. We're still gaining 4 for the rendering. We're still gaining that, but we can do that. That would be way more efficient because now it's less silicon that's being spent on that. So the chip itself can be smaller, can be manufactured and sold for less. NVIDIA probably wouldn't reduce prices, but it would also mean that there's less silicon taking power. So it improves the efficiency. I mean, it's like that I would not be surprised happening. Now with AMD unifying, they may have, because they do have matrix cores, which are essentially the tensor cores. Now they might end up, my brain just turned off. They might end up having that be more of a focus. I don't know. I kind of hope they don't, just because I think, well, yeah, having a FSR 3.2 or FSR 3X, okay, where it's like, that can use the AI enhancement, but they do not abandon the open source stuff that'll run anything. Excuse me. So more like what Intel has with XeSS, where they have the AI accelerated, they have the DP4A, DP4A, something like that, instruction set. It's accelerated, but not as accelerated, and it doesn't have access to certain paths. And then the just base for anything can run it, but it is the worst quality. AMD going to something like that with FSR, I'd be fine with. But yeah, we will see what happens, but this will be used. Okay. Enough on that topic, right? Another thing, I did see the talk about, I didn't look at the video, I don't really care. The PlayStation 5 Pro announced at $700. I don't really care about consoles, but it's like, that's $700 for just a box. It's not even, it doesn't have a drive. It doesn't have a disk drive, so it's all digital. You have to, and there isn't going to be a version apparently that includes it. You would just have to buy the external drive to connect with it. It's like, huh? How is this a good idea? I mean, it's like $700. You're touching on, well, why don't you just build a custom PC? And it is also in the whole, you can upgrade, you can modify your PC, and you can use it for other things too. It's like, that is one thing that definitely makes the console debate here problematic, is that everybody has a computer. Might only be a laptop, but it's still, you know, it's like, okay, you go to say $1,200, you can get a decent, especially if you are paying attention. Especially if you are paying attention, you can get a decent gaming laptop for even like $1,500 when they're on sale. Like, I mean, true, this is like a $2,600 laptop that I'm using, but it is framework, and I knew I was paying more for stuff that I could get elsewhere, but it's, the advantage is, who is there? The advantage of the modularity and such is something I really wanted. It's like, I'm paying for that. I paid for that. It's like, so I don't mind it being more expensive. But my dad, I think that was only like $1,500. His latest laptop is actually a gaming laptop because he wanted more performance. The fact that it's gaming is not relevant to him, but wanted the performance. Yeah. Okay, you know what? We're just. But I mean, yeah, that, and it's like, is it gonna always be as powerful? Would it be able to compete directly in performance with the PlayStation 5 Pro? Maybe not, but he can also, you know, write on it, he can read on it, he can browse the internet on it, all far more conveniently. He can take it with him, it's portable. I mean, it's, yeah, it's weird. We'll just have to see if Sony actually manages to sell any. I'm gonna, well, not the vlogs. There's one person not wearing one of those. Don't think there's anything I need. Although, you know what? I can get rid of some herbs very easily. Question is, can I get, can I actually make this trade? I should actually sell these and just have more made. No. You know what? I would rather do that. I'd rather make sure I'm selling the hats. The hats are going to be a lot easier to make more of. Oh, yeah, and also definitely don't need any of these. Because this is not counting any that are being worn at the moment. So, okay. There. Why not? Why not have another one? Really don't need some meat. That dude? No. Okay. Here we go. I just want it sorted so it's theirs, so I can see better what they can sell me. I do not want to lose that much money. Not if I can help. And it's mostly this, I know. So I oh, there. Alright. But yeah, so I that seems very odd. Because it's also, like, to me, having a 4K video player would be, a 4K media player would be nice. Because I don't have that, but I also don't have 4K television. But it's like, I mean, that couldn't satisfy my need. And the thing that I actually, because I did see something, my media player, I love it. I'm so sad that the company that made it went out of business, because it was a prestige media player, and that's what they made. And it's just, yeah, things got so generic. Blu-ray players got so good that it didn't couldn't really survive anymore. Company couldn't really survive anymore. So what ended up happening, they shut down. But it looks like there is a new company that is essentially filling that void. And they offer both like a $1,600 and a $3,000 option that is basically the 4K of what I have. Both of them. And they have certain features that I really like. Like, one thing with mine, I have multi-channel out. So, you know the RCA plugs in the yellow, white, red? The white and red are the left and right channels. My Blu-ray player has 8 of those for full 7.1, and it's just straight whatever audio the player is going through at the moment, is playing at the moment, goes on those to my receiver, which has those inputs. So, for example, I have some super artist CDs. Those are actually only supposed to be played over HDMI because it's copy protection, not over the multi-channel. So I can just turn to multi-channel, and it does not matter. So long as my Blu-ray player can decode it, I have the audio. Because I don't actually want to use the the HDMI there. It's weird. I have reasons. But it's also, I don't like running the video to the receiver and then up to the, from the receiver up to the television. I prefer inputs on the television, video inputs on television, audio on the receiver, instead of having to use the receiver to go through video inputs. That's my preference. So anyway. But their that $3,000 one has those outputs, so it's like awesome. So yeah, that makes me really happy to see. But anyway. So yeah, it's like, I know for me, I wouldn't mind the idea of getting a console, but I know I'm not playing many games at the moment, so what would be the point? But it's like, I would need those value adds. It can play any of my Blu-rays. PS5 Pro can't. Now without spending even more money. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how anyone would think that would sell well, at least to people like me. Other people, maybe, but like diehard fans of Sony, maybe, but do you really want to abuse your base like that? I mean, I know I talked about how, abusing gamers playing a game in early access, but it's an early access game. You're kind of expecting that. You're expecting bugs and such, and it's also a soft product. It's software that can be changed. This is hardware. So, yeah. But the other thing, I don't have the webcam on, but this news. There it is. Satisfactory 1.0 is out. I haven't been able to spend time in it because I've been busy with other things, but so many changes. And I do understand people disagreeing with it, that Coffee Stain Studio releases without an open beta period. There may have been a closed beta period, especially because I did see one video from somebody who has streamed a lot in Satisfactory, and apparently that video went live like minutes after the update did. And it's like a 20-minute video that was out 5 minutes after, and it is edited, so it's like, yeah, some people got access, which, I mean, hey, I'm cool with that. I don't see any issue with that. Especially because, to be clear, if anyone's like, oh, but, shill and all that, it's like, the dude isn't a reviewer, okay? He's just sharing content about the game. But yeah, so we've got new Tier 9 technology, the converter shown here, which will actually let you convert materials from one to another. It does have costs, but can do that. Faster conveyor belts, 1,200 items per minute, so you can actually have resources generated. You could actually already have certain resources generated faster than the 780 of a fast belt, of the previously fastest belt. So this means that you can actually fully overclock things, fully push that. Blueprint Designer being increased in size from 4. We now have one that's 5x5 and 6x6, which honestly, this is going to sound stupid. The thing that makes me the happiest about that is there would be some for like railway connections, because some of those, like having the right turn that I want and making sure it's the most compact. I think that'll fit in the Mark II. It might be a Mark III, but it's like wouldn't fit in Mark I. That I'd actually like, which is so stupid, I know, but it's yeah. But there would be other things that is very neat to see. I'm not sure how much I'd take advantage of, is all I'm kind of saying. Portal, so you'll be able to teleport. This thing, though, I did see in the video explain, so this is an amplification device where it will just add, I think it was showing like 500 megawatts of power, but it also has increases by 10% the power of your entire of your grid. So just 10% on top. And you can actually feed it stuff that's expensive, but push it up to 30. So that's actually kind of neat. Dimensional Depot, meaning you can now have storage that's in the cloud and access it anyway. So that's oh yeah, Alien Power Augmenter. That's what that is. Alien Production Amplifier. So you can just have devices output more of a product. It's not like overclocking where it goes faster. It outputs more. It does increase the electricity, the power consumption a lot. Right there. Hub. So we've got cosmetics, which is nice. Blah 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Holy crap, we finally have this. I mean, it's like, why do you have this all the way down here? Like, this is, to me, a highlight. So you can now, there's now an option when putting down conveyor belts that they will always, for turns, instead of it just being a curve, it'll be at right angles. So it's like, awesome, and say something similar for railways. Because I would relay down railways because I would notice, oh, they're a little warped there. It's like, no, force it to be straight. So conveyor belts as well, where now it'll always make right turns instead of trying to go so far and then turn. This is a huge quality of life change. It really is. And it's like, this legitimately, for a lot of people, is going to be the highlight. Because so a lot of this stuff up here, it's like, yeah, we'll get to that eventually. It's like, I mean, does it say? I'm not sure if it says when the Mark 6 belts. These might be Tier 9. The Mark 3 designer is Tier 9. The Mark 2 designer is Tier 6. I mean, a lot of this stuff is Tier 9. But then this is like, nope. It even says here, just starts at the beginning. It's like, that is awesome. So yeah, that's like, that's a big deal. You should highlight it more. That's so important. But yeah. Anyway, close that. Back to here. And yeah, so hopefully I will get to spend some time in that at some point. I think right now, if I'm gonna be spending just some free time decompressing kind of stuff, I think I'd want to do it in Sins of Soul Empire 2, because I haven't really gotten to do that yet, and I do want to. But yeah, other things I need to work on first. Hey, only 56 minutes, not bad, under an hour. I'll try to actually stop this soon. Yeah, especially since I can't think of anything more to say beyond I think that my commentary and the developer commentary thing for Titan Quest 2 last week, I think that went well enough that if I see another developer commentary video for something I care about, some game I care about, I think I may try doing that again. If nothing else, it's kind of fun, especially because it's like, why are they doing it this way? I'm seeing this, not this, and also I have some insight to how videos like that are made for my decade of video game quality assurance experience, where I did help with one trailer being made. Like, there actually is a trailer where I don't remember if it was my point of view or you actually see me in. I think it may have been my point of view was used. So it's like I do know certain things that they very likely were doing there, and there's nothing wrong with that. That they're not misrepresenting the game, because they're trying to tell you about the concepts of the features, and not like, this is exactly the gameplay experience you'll have. That's not what that represents, and could not be this early in development. Anyway, enough of my yammering. Let's keep this under an hour. I will see you next time.